No, it's very difficult. Probably be one of the more difficult in in this history of this league. But it is what it is, and we can either complain about it, or we can go out and deal with it, and that's what we plan to do. We're going to turn Fort McMurray into Toronto West, and get an opportunity to go there and show what a great game we have here. And I know there's a lot of Easterners there, both from Ontario and the Maritimes, and in Fort McMurray. And then it's just traveling out west so many times early in the year is going to be difficult. But like I say, you can either embrace it and say, you know what, this is going to help make us a more solid football team, or you can, do what you're doing.
During the season, Jim, the other teams in the East have been upgrading through free agency. We know that Hamilton every year upgrades during the season. How do you define the opposition? What do you see you have to do this year, or do you have to do anything?
Well, obviously, Hamilton for 2 straight years has gone to the Grey Cup, and that's not acceptable for us. So we're the last Eastern team that's won it, and we expect to be the next Eastern team to win it. And obviously, Hamilton is the team that right now you have to get there in order to win it. And they're the team. Obviously, Montreal went through some changes. They came on last year, played very well. We went there week 17. If we'd have won that game, we'd have won the division. We ended up not winning that game. So, hopefully we don't put ourselves in positions where we have those have-to-win type games. But our divisions, Ottawa's going to be much, much improved. They went out, and as they should, they first year they went a little lower on everything, and now they went out and got the players that they need. And they're going to be much, much better. So the Eastern Division is going to be a very difficult division, and we get that.
Nobody.
What's going on with the Frenchies? Is that a distraction issue? You guys are going to have to always act.
Nothing can be as big a distraction as what we had last year, so we're miles ahead of that. So our players have learned to deal with distractions, and maybe last year it got to a point that, that point of where it affects you. I think now we're about 500 miles ahead of that. So, that's, in terms of distractions, this will be a much, much better year for us in terms of being able to focus. Football's a game of routine, and you got to be everything they do, penalties, and it's all about routine. It's doing the right thing over and over and over, doing the same thing over and over. And when you're practicing at Mississauga one day and some other place another, it's just hard to get into a routine, and you're thinking about things other than winning. This league is a tough league. So last year was a learning experience for us, and it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable for us to not be in the playoffs. It's not acceptable for us to not win the Grey Cup. So we are focused on understanding, learning from last year, and being able to put that knowledge forward this year into a quality year.
The last game that Ricky Foley, Jim, played for your team ended pretty well. What do you hope he brings back to this team?
He's a Toronto Argonaut, and even when he was in green and white, I just, every time I watched him play, I felt like he's just in the wrong jersey. And he's a Toronto guy. He's got strong roots in this area. I think he's matured a lot, and I think that this defensive staff is excited about having the things he brings. So I just think the combination of all those things. Ricky's going to give us a bit of a presence. He's good. He understands what it takes to win. The guy won 2 straight Grey Cups, and he had a lot to do with both of them. So we're so excited to have him back. And I said to him, it's like having a part of the family finally come back. So we're excited about him.
We're on the level of pride and emotion is Ricky.
Excuse me?
The level of pride and emotion, if it was 1 to 10, what would you say he was?
I don't know. He's here. You can ask him.
I will.
Jim, you got the combine next week. How important is that for you?
It's vital.
Yeah.
Teams are built on Canadian content, and I think we spend a lot of time. We have a lot of guys working a lot of hours preparing so that we do what's right for this organization long term. The combine is a time where we get to watch guys actually move around. We get to take what we've seen in the off season in terms of their film and how does it translate to the kinds of things they're going to have to do in the CFL. And it gives a chance to get to know them. One of the things with free agency, when you go sign somebody that you or nobody on your staff is coach, you don't know what that guy's like. At least here we get to spend 15 minutes with them and get to find out what they're like, how they're going to handle different pressures, how they're going to handle different things, what's important to them, and the things that are important to us. And so, yeah, this weekend the combine, I think this year's draft class is as good as it's been at least in the last 4 or 5 years, and it's deep, and it's the top guys are good, and it's going to be a great combine.
Any update on Ricky's shoulder and his rehab?
He's coming along great. He's actually ahead of schedule in terms of his lifting and things. We won't know a lot until toward the end of April. That'll be when the time after the surgery. So, we're going in with, we feel in Trevor Harris, we've got a great young guy that has played quality downs. He played that last Ottawa game, which was a game we had to win, and played very, very well there. So, obviously you love to have one of the great players in the history of this league back, but we're not gonna force him back early. We're not gonna do anything like that. When he feels, Ricky knows his body well, and there's nobody more diligent in terms of getting ready. So when he's ready, he'll tell us. And until that time, Trevor Harris, Mitchell Gale, and Logan Kilgore will battle it out for the opportunity to play.
Jim, where are the holes you want to fill in the draft, et cetera, and your signings from the U.S.? Where I know receiver is a position that you've lost some talent there. Where are some of the other positions where you're looking to fill?
Well, I think the secondary is a position, not necessarily in the draft, could be in the draft, but that's a spot. But when you look at Canadian talent, it's a little bit different. You take the best players you can, and then you kind of mold your roster around where your best players are. And the most important thing is to get the best players you can possibly get on the field, and that's how we approach the combine or not the combine, but the draft. Is how can this guy fit on our team? How can he make our team? And we just, every single guy we draft, there has to be a reason in how we think he can make our team.
Are you prepared to start the season without Jason Barnes, or are the negotiations still going on with Jason Barnes?
Oh, we talk to Jason all the time, but at this point, he hasn't made a decision yet what he wants to do, and I think for us, we're going to go down to Florida, look at some of our new guys, and we'll see what happens there. I mean, it is what it is.
Jim, Anthony Coombs obviously got hurt early last year. Is it almost like a bonus draft pick this year? You get him back in the lineup because he really went through last year without him entirely. Yeah, he played enough to know what it's like. So he's not going to be a true rookie. Exactly. No, he's a guy that we have high hopes for, and I think he got a taste of the offense now. So Scott can be a little more creative with him with the things he does. We lost Spencer Watt in free agency. So that's a Canadian spot that that Anthony could conceivably do some things out there. Obviously, we know he can play the slot, and we know he can play running back. So he's a guy that gives the coaching staff a lot of options, and that's the whole key for my job as the GM, is to give the coaches options so that when it comes time to setting our roster, they can put forth the best possible group.
Jim, year two with Tim Burke as defensive coordinator. I mean, how big of a difference does that make typically in this league going from year 1 to 2? What are you expecting from that unit? It usually. I mean, this year we needed last year. Our secondary, for it as an example, we've gone through from Orlando Steinauer to Chris Jones to Tim Burke, and all three want somebody different, and so it takes time to get the right guys back there. And the bottom line is we're continuing. It's a work in progress. I mean, I couldn't tell you who the 5 starting DBs will be next year. It's going to be a great battle. There's a lot of them are battle tested, but which ones are going to be the guys? That's hard to tell. But in terms of the guys that are returning from last year, are they gonna have that extra bit of an edge having played under a year with them? Oh, there's no doubt. The terminology, the things the coaches are talking about, and things they'll know about. So anytime you change coaches, there's going to be a transition stage. When I hired Scott as the head coach, it wasn't so great because we did a lot of the same things, so the offense kind of melded in. Chris Jones came in and just did a great job in his first year, and it completely changed what we were doing. And, now we've done the same thing with Tim last year.